Welcome back to the channel. So in this video we're going to be talking about the best exercise, diet and supplement program for everything. Fat loss, obviously cutting, bulking and health and longevity. There is a lot of complexity here. It gets very confusing. I'm going to simplify all of it, take everything I've learned and put it all into one video. Okay, so first things first. Many programs are just for cutting weight or for putting on weight or for just health and longevity and not related to anything to do with muscle mass, but they all have some kind of downside. This is the program to rule them all. So this is very simple to track and it includes everything that I know and everything that you'll need. And you can just calibrate a few things for whatever your goals are, and this is all you'll need. And this is also very good for your body. So there is a lot of them that cause issues basically. So in this program, you shouldn't have that. Don't listen to what people obviously talk about, listen to what they do. This is exactly what my program is. This is what I do. Everything in here I'm doing. So it means a lot instead of someone just talking all the time. Okay, so the overall goal is as follows. It has to be easy to follow, easy to track. It has to increase our lifespan, increase our health span as well, reduce inflammation in the body. We obviously want a low body fat percentage, not too low, but we want good hormone health. We want to be really strong, but we don't want to damage our joints, and we don't want to be like those power lifters that when they get into their old age, they're a mess. This is very common. We want to have high energy. We don't want to be tired all the time from overtraining, and we want to have high free testosterone, obviously feeling great as a man. Obviously, I'm going to timestamp everything in here, so you'll be able to pick which section out, but I suggest you just watch everything, every second of it. Now, a quick disclaimer. All of these methods I've tried on myself, and I'm N of 1. It means I'm, number of 1. But you can quickly Google any of these, any of the things I talk about in this video to find the medical papers and the sources. None of this obviously is medical advice. Do everything at your own risk and consult your local drug dealing doctor. Right, so the structure will be as follows. We'll talk about fasting, then we'll talk about diet, then we'll talk about removing addictions, big issue. We'll talk about supplements with my secret sauce. We'll also talk about sleep, we'll talk about exercise, both weightlifting and cardio, and then finally we'll talk about sauna and cold showers, cold plunge protocol. Okay, so first things first, let's not waste any time. Fasting. Why should we fast? There's a very long list of benefits, but ultimately we're going to be reducing inflammation, we're going to increase autophagy in the body, and we're going to increase our lifespan and our health span. This process in the body, autophagy, basically eats all the bad cells, well, most of them, each time you go into autophagy. That in itself reduces the risk of Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and of course, most importantly, cancer. Now, obviously, if you're outside of the longevity benefits, if you're cutting, going into each day with a fast at the beginning makes the process of staying within your calories for the day much, much, much easier. If you try and spread out the food right from the moment you wake up to the end of the day, it's much harder to make those calories stretch. It's much easier if they're compressed into a short window. Also, over time, it increases nutrient partitioning and insulin sensitivity, which basically means that you don't get fat unnecessarily. Now, obviously, the equation is always calories in, calories out, but based on the food you eat, if they're whole foods and you have high quality nutrient partitioning in your body, notice you're always lean when you're younger, you're not going to get fat so easy. So this is really important when you're bulking. Because typically what happens when you bulk is people just put on a bunch of fat. Now, you can actually eat quite a lot of calories without getting fat. And it mostly can go to muscle growth. You have to be careful how many calories you eat, obviously. But if you apply fasting whilst doing this, you increase your nutrient partitioning. And as such, you don't put on as much fat. Okay, so the daily protocol is as follows. Intermittent fasting every day. First meal around 12 or 1 p.m. You can alternate this through the week. Some days you can maybe eat a little bit earlier if you really need it. Don't go too crazy, but ultimately this should be what you're doing 90% of the time. This kind of applies to the whole video. So you want your first meal around 1 p.m. You want your last meal around 7 p.m. because you want to not eat too late because it will affect your sleep. You can drink black coffee in the morning. That really helps the fasting process because it basically blunts your hunger. But if you drink too much coffee, you mess up your gut, so you actually get worse. So just be careful with the amount of coffee that you actually drink. And then there's a few optional extras. These really help with longevity. They're really good for your body. Monthly protocol, doing a 48-hour fast. The easy way to do this, most people will tell you, oh, drink water. That's actually bullshit. If you drink water, just water, what happens is you flush all of your electrolytes and you feel like death. You feel terrible. And you're like, this fasting stuff is bullshit. So what you have to do is you have to supplement that. So you take in sodium, potassium. The lemon helps with your organs and your digestion, obviously clearing your body out, detoxing your body. But the sodium and the potassium are most important. Now, how do you get those? Sodium is salt. So just get high quality salt and put a bit in water. And the potassium you can buy in most countries. It's either called low salt or no salt. It's basically those BS versions of salt where they remove all the sodium. So you basically, I would say for, say, a 2-litre bottle of water, it's roughly around half a teaspoon of each of those. Mix those in, put that in with lemon juice. If you drink that throughout the day when you're fasting for these 48 hours, you make the process so much easier. Now, the first time you try this, it will not taste good. But after you have it a few times, you get used to it and you don't even notice it. Now, if you find it too disgusting, just increase the dilution and to the point where it's easy for you to drink. Ultimately, try and get those salts in. It really, it makes all the difference in the world. You can train, you can go to the gym, you can lift weights. You're almost like, you're not the same, but you're almost like a person that's eating when you do this. This is the secret hack that most people don't know about fasting. And then the other things which are kind of hidden by my face here is every 6 months, do a 72-hour fast. So it's just a little bit longer, increasing the autophagy effect on the body. And then annually, do a 48-hour dry fast. Now, dry fasts come with a few catches. And again, none of this medical advice, do everything at your own risk. But dry fasts, if you are going to do one, what you want to do is you want to drink this water that I mentioned above with sodium and potassium 24 hours before the 48-hour fast. Again, everything I'm discussing at this point is optional. You can move on to the next section if you're not interested, but there's a lot of benefits to this. When you do a dry fast, every time I do a dry fast, my skin is usually pretty good, but any marks, any blemishes, any irritation I have on my skin is completely gone after a dry fast. It's very aggressive. It's very, very aggressive. It's very good at healing ailments if you have health issues, if you're sick. There's a lot of reasons for this, and I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but ultimately the short answer is it's evolutionary. It's within our bodies. So it's something that we have in our evolution. If you imagine we were without food, these were the times that it would spike all of these things in the body. It's been tested, it's been scientifically proven. But anyway, tons of benefits. But the easy thing to do is just do the daily protocol, which is not really fasting, it's just time-restricted eating. And then throw in these extra fasts as and when you can fit them in. But after you've done it the first few times, you will feel euphoric. You can tell how much better you feel, and that's within your body. No one can kind of measure that, but it really does make a huge difference to your health overall. Right, what are the goals for the diet? Let's see if I can just move my face here to the side. Maybe it's a little bit better here. What are the goals for the diet? So we want it to be easy to track. We want it to be easy to adhere to follow, and enjoyable. We want it to be easy to cut when we're cutting. We also want to be able to bulk up relatively easy. We want clean energy. We don't want to be tired all the time. We don't want crashes, ups and downs, going from being starving to full to starving to full. We want that to all be level. We want to improve our gut health because that's really important for our body. That's very important for our mental health as well. We want to reduce the inflammation in our body. We want to create a good stress on the body so the body becomes stronger, but we don't want to harm the body, which you'll see a little bit later, is possible with diet quite easily. We want to improve the functions of the organs. We also want to improve our hormone balance. And we also want highly available protein sources. None of these like BS vegan powders. And also, we don't really want to be using expensive protein powders. We want to be using whole foods. So these are the goals. All right, let's move on. Okay. Me personally, I've done everything. I've done classic bodybuilder, which is, low fat, high carb, rice and chicken, rice and blah, blah, blah. I've done vegan, I've done paleo, I've done keto, I've done carnivore, I've done flexible dieting. They all work if you're trying to cut weight. They also work if you're trying to bulk. But they come with a lot of issues. Many of them, you get a carb crash. If I take, for example, something like veganism or the vegan diet, a lot of it is not bioavailable. So you're eating a lot and your body can't really digest a lot of it. I also found I got a lot of gut issues on a vegan diet. Keto was too restrictive. It was really hard to buy any ingredients to make most foods. It was really hard. Everything was just... The fat split wasn't correct. To do keto properly, you need to be doing 85% fat, 15% protein, and it's just too difficult. Also, it's really hard to get into ketosis, and it's really easy to get out of it. Again, too hard. Carnivore works really well if you really like meat. Yeah, it's probably second to what I'm going to suggest. It's probably second to what I'm going to suggest. It's pretty great. But obviously you've got to like meat. The problem with flexible dieting is it's really good, it's really enjoyable and very easy to stick to the calories. But what I found is it created a sugar addiction and some kind of like eating disorder. And I noticed a lot of the YouTubers that followed it all had some kind of weird body dysmorphia or eating disorder. And like, unfortunately, some of them passed away from their approach. So really not good in my opinion. Obviously, if it can be done in balance, it's good, but I don't think having all these sweeteners and trying to make everything like cakes and all these things is good, because then you're just still addicted to the same things. You've just changed the ingredients, and I don't think we should have any addictions. I think we should be able to be indifferent about the food, and I think with what I'm going to suggest, you'll be indifferent to it, but you'll be satisfied and you'll be healthy and you'll have good gut health and all of the things I talked about. So the best, in my opinion, is a little bit of intermittent fasting, roughly 95% paleo with dairy. Original paleo is without dairy, and then a bit of the flexible dieting. So what that means is, having a chocolate bar every now and then, having a cake every now and then, having a beer every now and then, like not completely cutting everything out. This, I think, is the best setup because you get to have the things you want, maybe 5% of the time. Paleo has a ton of benefits, works for most people. And then the intermittent fasting obviously helps for all of the reasons I already mentioned. Also, most ingredients, and I found on a lot of these diets, are actually inflammatory to the body. A lot of the high-fat approach, actually for a lot of people, is actually inflammatory. Is not the opposite of what they suggest. A lot of the ingredients of things you can just buy at the supermarket in general are just inflammatory to the body. We'll talk about those in a second. They cause issues with your gut, they cause issues with your hormones, they cause issues with fertility. It's quite crazy how many things are actually quite bad for you. Obviously, it's kind of obvious that if you just eat whole foods, you don't really have problems. But there's many vegetables that cause issues as well. So, obviously pre-made foods, pre-processed foods are quite bad. That's obvious. Let's move on. One thing I would mention is, obviously, if you're following this version of paleo, a lot of it is low, well, paleo in general, it's low glycemic index, so you don't get this spike in blood glucose. Now, people say that doesn't matter, calories don't matter, but it does in how you feel, because you just feel more stable throughout the day. You don't get crashes, you don't get massive spikes in hunger, and we are still going to be having a decent amount of fat, so we're very satiated and hormone function is really good. Right, the first thing to say before I go into all the detail, everyone is very different, so your body has its own makeup. There's things that you could eat that will cause issues for you. You might be one of those people that can't eat many things and have tons of health issues, and you need to probably go on something like carnivore. But for most people, I would say even probably more than 90%, what I'm going to suggest will just work. And ultimately, your digestion should feel like nothing. You should eat and almost feel nothing. So calibrate to how you feel. If there's anything you eat in here that doesn't make you feel good, or you get this feeling after you've eaten, it's likely doesn't work for your body, unfortunately. Now, the most common ones are nuts, dairy, and in some rare cases, eggs. So just take those out. If that's the case, do not mess around. Your body is signaling to you, is trying to tell you something's not right. I can't digest this. I can't digest it well. This is causing issues. If you're feeling something, that's inflammation. So inflammation is the main thing we want to get down in general. So yeah, the other thing is it's very confusing. Everything is bad for you in everything you read. So what I've tried to do here is take everything I've learned since I started looking at this stuff in 2009, 2010. I'm trying to take everything I've learned during that period and try to compress it into this video. So this should work for you and most people, you know, but you may be the outlier. And if such, maybe you need to try carnivore. Ultimately, number one is health. So that's what we're trying to do here. So first thing, before we get into the food, what should you drink? Ideally, you want to be drinking just water that's filtered. You don't want to be going straight from the tap because that has a ton of bad stuff in it. You can buy a filter on Amazon, fill it up with water. It filters through, drink that water. Now, ideally, you want a filter that's made from glass, something like that. But if it's made from plastic, it's still better than drinking it out of the tap. But you want to, as soon as it's come out, you want to pour it out into your glass or your metal bottle. But filtering it is really important. It's surprising. I went down that rabbit hole the other day. I was quite shocked. The stuff that's in our tap water. But obviously you can't buy bottled water because then that's been sitting in plastic for a long time, and that has a ton of issues with hormones. So you're being attacked from every direction, but you can solve it. You filter your water out of the tap, drink it straight away. Very simple. Avoid all milk. Avoid the plant milks. You can have them. They're not a problem, but in general, you want to avoid them. If you are going to have any plant milks, almond milk, coconut milk, things like that are kind of okay. Yeah, almond milk is probably the one that has the lowest risk of causing you an issue. Don't have anything with soy in it at all. Obviously no alcohol. You probably guessed that already. No drinks with sugar, obviously. No Coke, those things. No smoothies and no juices. That's just pure sugar straight into your body. Like when it's blended up like that, you're not just getting a bunch of fruit. When you break down the fibers, they get digested in a completely different way in your body. Just don't bother. 0 calorie drinks are fine. The ones made with stevia and aspartame, which Diet Coke, they use aspartame, apparently is completely okay for the body, doesn't cause any issues. But in general, you want to stay away from sweeteners because you're kind of just feeding the beast of, I need something sweet, I need something sweet. I promise you, after a period of time, you don't want it anymore. You don't even have the desire. So try to not have those things as much, but in the beginning have them. And then obviously black coffee and tea, absolutely fine. I was going to say have as much as you want. Don't have too crazy amounts. Anyway, right, what should you eat? Okay, first things first, proteins. So all red meats, pork, chicken, fish, eggs, all good. Carbs you want to try and get from sweet potatoes, carrots, fruits. You can have white potato and you can actually have white rice, even though this is a grain. In most people it's processed very well, but you want to try and have that a little bit less. Ideally, if you want to have white rice, have white rice. If you want to have white potatoes, have them, no problem. But try to stick to sweet potato and some of the vegetables and fruits for your carbs. Fats, grass-fed butter, really good. Ghee is really good. That's like a clarified butter. Extra virgin olive oil, but don't cook with the extra virgin olive oil. Again, I'm giving you everything I know here, so it might seem detailed, but you can pause, you can skip around, you can come back. You don't need to watch the whole thing now, but this is everything I know in one video. Extra virgin olive oil, when it's heated up, creates effectively creates oxidative stress on your body. This is really bad. That causes cancer, so you don't want that. I did that for many years without knowing. Avocado oil is really good. That has a high smoke point. So does ghee, has a high smoke point, so you can cook with them on a high heat. Fruits are mostly fine, but not like, they don't cause issues to your body. But you just want to stick to like berries. If you can just eat berries, like try to get the cheap blueberries from the supermarket in bulk. Just eat those all day long, no problem. Vegetables are mostly fine. I'll talk about this after, but ideally you want the green vegetables. Broccoli is great. Again, not too much. If you have too much, you can cause gut issues. So with vegetables, I'll talk about this a little bit later, but you need them for digestion and you need them to create a stress on the body. But if you have too much of it, it actually causes issues. As you've noticed with these people who are doing carnivore and are in amazing health, vegetables actually do cause a lot of issues. So you still want to take them. Taking none, I don't think is smart, but taking just enough is right. Avocado, obviously technically it's a fruit, but avocado is great. Dairy, ideally you want raw dairy if you can get it. If you can't get it, no problem, but avoid milk, because that, if you get in a non-raw form, all of the good stuff is taken out of it and you're left with a bunch of hormones. Butter is really good. This typically doesn't have the lactose in it, obviously what milk has. Butter is, in most cases, is pretty good, but ideally you want the grass-fed butter. So in the UK, Kerrygold is really popular. That's really good grass-fed butter, and there's some others. You can get them in other parts of the world, obviously. Grass-fed butter is what you want. Cottage cheese, obviously when you're cutting, get the low-fat version. Yogurt, the same. If you're cutting, get the low-fat version. Actually an amazing source of protein. Yogurt has a bunch of benefits for the gut, but yogurt is it's a bit touch and go. Some people mess up their stomach, like even me, like half the time it's not that good for me, half the time it's okay. So whereas if I eat butter, no issue at all. You can have cheese, no problem. Cheese is all good. Well, depends on the cheese you buy, but in general, cheeses are fine, but don't have crazy amounts because they don't get digested that well. Salts, okay. Table salt is really bad for a lot of reasons because it's processed. When you buy salt, you want high quality salt. In America, I think it's kosher salt is probably one of the best. In the UK, Malden sea salt is really good. But in general, you just want a high quality sea salt, no matter where you are in the world. You don't want any processing of any kind, any other chemicals. The ingredients should just be salt. Or sodium chloride. Okay, nuts. Nuts, be careful, because nuts can irritate a lot of people and they don't even know it. If you're going to eat nuts, try to eat Brazil nuts. These really help your testosterone. Yeah, they really help with building muscle. I try to eat Brazil nuts as much as I can, but be careful. And also be careful with nuts, with the calories, because it's so easy to go over your calories by eating nuts. Okay, for testosterone, you want to eat 4 to 8 eggs per day. Cholesterol is not bad for you. You can go Google, you can go do your own research on that, but it's not bad for you, okay? I'm sure you've heard the term getting yoked. That's why. Anyway, eat lots of eggs. That's typically my lunch now. Okay, obviously avoid pre-made food, alcohol, sugars, honey. I know people say honey is healthy, but it just spikes your blood glucose. Avoid soy, obviously, bread, pasta, legumes, lentils, rice, brown rice, sorry. Brown rice actually is a funny one. You can have white rice, but not brown. Many reasons, go Google that. Seeds typically cause issues for a lot of people, so avoid seeds. Seed oils, fucking terrible for you in so many ways. Unbelievably so. Nightshades, tomatoes, eggplant, avoid those. Coconut is okay for some people, as in coconut oil, raw coconut milk, but just be careful with it. A lot of people, it causes inflammation, so I just avoid coconut myself. Okay, the balance. So your focus wants to be on the protein and the fats. They have high satiety, meaning you feel full. You don't need much. You can eat little and just feel full. Example is just massive steak with some eggs, a small amount of vegetables, and then after some blueberries. You will be satiated. You will feel great. You will have clean energy. Once you start doing this, you'll see what I mean. You'll see how you feel. Now, carbs are really important for energy, and if you have low carb and you don't have enough, then SHBG is going to go up. And what that basically means is your free testosterone is going to come down. Your free testosterone is what matters, is what you have access to. So you don't want to have no carbs. That's no good. Vegetables are nutritious, but meat has more nutrition in it. But you still want to have vegetables for nutrition. They help with your digestion. They do, as much as people say they don't. They do help with digestion. And they are a good stress on the body. But you want to limit the amount, because it's very easy to take in too much, say a high volume amount, because you're cutting and you're trying to take in a high volume of food whilst being low calorie. And you'll just feel it. You'll feel it after. Your digestion will not be good. But if you just take in just enough, you won't notice. As I said before, digestion should feel like nothing. If it doesn't feel like nothing, something's wrong. Now, if you want more carbs, try to lean towards the berries. Try to lean towards the fruits, because you'll notice you don't have a bad effect when you digest them. And it's less stress on the body. Okay, what about things you love? Flexible dieting. Okay, you'll find if you do the fasting and you follow this diet, your interest in alcohol, sugars, bad things, all the pre-processed food, chocolate bars, cakes, with time will almost disappear. You will not understand. It won't take motivation to follow this. Once you've got momentum, those things you just won't even want. You'll go to the shop, you'll see them, you're not interested. Because your body will start signaling to you correctly what it needs. Because most of the time that shit has been hacked by the food and the beverage companies over your life. And you haven't broke free of that. So once you break free of it, I know because I've experienced it, it completely changes. But at the same time, do not be extreme, because otherwise you won't stick to this. So every now and then, if you really, really want it, and you obviously have to control this, have what you love. If that's, a cake, if it's a chocolate bar, if it's, I don't know, whatever it is that you really love, if it's a beer, whatever, you can have it. It's not going to make that much difference overall. If you're being consistent 95 or more % of the time, like, it's really not going to make any difference in the world. So don't kill yourself over it. You don't need to stick to everything all the time. Obviously, you need moderation. Otherwise, you're not going to stick to this over years and years and years. This is about building a lifestyle where you are always healthy all year round. You don't get sick. You're always physically strong. You're always physically fit. And you have a long, healthy life. That's what it's about. It's not about getting into some amazing shape and then binging for 3 months. That's just creating an eating disorder. So we need some balance here. Ultimately, if you want to have something you like, try and figure out what the calories are if you can. Maybe you can scan the barcode on the back with MyFitnessPal, the app on your phone. You can see exactly what it is. You can see in the day what you've had. You can kind of measure. You can see where you're at and fit it in. That's the whole approach. Now, if you eat the majority of your protein at lunch, and then the last part of your dinner, and then have what you love just before you go to bed, what you'll find is that you'll have enough space in your calories to fit in those things. But if you have a ton of carbs and fats as well as the proteins at lunch and at dinner, or you have some kind of overbalance of those, what will happen is that you won't have enough space to fit in these other things if you really want to have them. So try to plan ahead. If you really want to have an ice cream or you really want to have something, try to figure out what it is in calories, try to see where it fits. And as long as you hit your protein goal, which is the most important, and then your fats, and then you can balance in your carbs, you can fit it in with your calories per day. Okay, I'll talk about MyFitnessPal now as well if you don't know about it. So how many calories? Here is the most simple method. Take away all the complexity. If you're cutting, times your weight in pounds by 11, and that will give you the amount of calories you need at your current weight to cut. Now, obviously, as your weight is going down, you need to readjust this so you're bringing the calories down. Here's the example in kilograms, 24 times in kilograms. To maintain, it's 14 times your weight in pounds. To maintain, it's 30 times your weight in kilograms, and then to bulk, 17 times your weight in pounds, or 37 times your weight in kilograms. This is roughly going to give you everything you need to cut, to maintain, and to bulk. Now the bulk is not extreme, it's a clean bulk. It's roughly speaking, these are a 500 calorie deficit at your maintenance and a 500 calorie surplus. That's very balanced, it's very reasonable, not too crazy. That should help for most, that will work for most people. Now, if you're bulking and you're still not putting weight on and you're eating that amount, you're probably doing too much, or you just need to increase the calories. It's very simple. Now, weigh yourself every day, because this really helps you hit any of these goals. Even if you're maintaining, weigh yourself every day. If you're cutting, weigh yourself every day. This keeps you in check. Now, your weight will go up and down over time. What will happen if this is the first time you've ever dieted, is you'll probably recomp, because we're going to talk about lifting heavy in this video. And if you're lifting heavy and you follow any of this, it's likely at the beginning you won't put on a bunch of weight, you won't lose a bunch of weight, you'll actually stay level, and you'll recomp. Your body will go, wow, we need to adapt, we need to change. Then once you get past that period, that's when it gets a little bit harder to lose weight and to put on weight. So don't worry if your weight is not moving at the beginning. If it's still not moving after a few weeks, then adjust the calories up or down based on your goal. It's really simple. You don't need to go through online calculators, you don't do anything. You just need to weigh yourself and follow these calculations. That's it. Right, removing addictions. So the first thing you got to realize, why have I put this here? This matters because most people that will follow this diet will actually solve a lot of their chemical addictions. You have to realize that most of your chemical addictions are in your gut bacteria. Now, they communicate with your brain, but this is where most of the hacks have been made by food and beverage companies. Once these bacteria are cleared from your gut, you won't need willpower anymore. This won't be about willpower, about being disciplined and all this stuff that people talk about. It won't be about that. You just won't want it, because there won't be this little organism in your gut sending a signal to your brain, get me beer, or get me chocolate, or get me a cake, or whatever the fuck, okay? So, realize that. That's the first thing. Fasting really does help. It helps you remove the desire completely. Now, if you want to do this quickly, and I've done this, I've noticed I've had a bit of an addiction to a certain food. I've done a dry fast, and at the end of the dry fast, I have zero desire for it. Zero. But again, if you're going to do a dry fast, do it at your own risk, and make sure you preload with sodium and potassium and baking soda 24 hours before. Now, why baking soda? It increases your pH levels. Basically, your kidneys, when you dry fast, they have to process all the toxins being processed through your body, and you want to keep that pH level high, because otherwise they get too acidic. You'll start to get pain. You may find you kick kidney stones. So taking in the baking soda before really helps. Obviously, if you follow a clean diet, as I've already mentioned in here, it's going to help your gut health dramatically. It will remove most of your addictions over time. Now, if you stick to it strictly and you don't have any bad things, any sugars, any things that will bring the addictions back or feed them, it will end much faster. The other thing to remember is that alcohol in particular is actually a sugar addiction. It's got nothing to do with alcohol. It's just a sugar addiction. So once you follow this diet, or you do the fasts, and you clear this from your gut, you won't have any desire. Like, I have no desire for a beer. I have no desire for a wine. Zero. So also drink lots of water. This really helps, obviously, flush your body. And exercise and sauna has also another dramatic effect. There's some signaling that goes on in the body. So if you're training regularly and you do also sauna and you're doing all these other things and you're sleeping well, you'll find that your body will be saying to you, I really need a steak and some vegetables and some fruit. It's strange. You don't desire the bad things when you're training. Your body is like, I need this amount of protein, I need fat, I need good fat, I need vegetables, I need fruit, I need more meat, I need more eggs, I need more cholesterol, good cholesterol. It's strange, and once you've experienced it, you'll see what I mean. It will be what you need, not what this bad bacteria in your gut wants. that's controlling you. It will just be what you need to repair, to heal. Right, okay, now we're going to talk about supplements. So second half is optional, don't need to do those. It's not getting fancy, but it's stuff to do with longevity, and anyway, I'll explain. Right, so first things first, I take this entire dose every day, and they're split in half. So I take half in the morning, half just before bed. Vitamin D3, 10,000 IUs a day. There is way too many benefits to mention, but the main ones is increase your testosterone, increase your immunity, it reduces inflammation, you're going to see this a lot, obviously helps organ function, increases testosterone, increases bone density, and the calcium regulation, which is obviously related to the bones. Zinc, 40 milligrams a day. I was actually taking a higher dose than this. I've now reduced this down to 40 milligrams. Again, too many to mention, but it increases free testosterone, which is most important to you as a man. Obviously improves immunity, reduces inflammation again, it's an antioxidant, and it reduces oxidative stress in the body. Magnesium, all of these together, they work very well together, these three. It has a crucial role in the body. Obviously organ and nerve function, reduces stress and anxiety, and improves your sleep a ton because it increases melatonin. Also, from what I read, it actually improves your circadian rhythm as well. I can say this for sure. If I take magnesium, my sleep is better and my stress levels are lower. If I don't take it, my stress is higher. I'm more in like a peak state after drinking coffee or these kinds of things, and I don't sleep as well. I can say this for sure, without a doubt. This really works, but I take it just before bed. If you take it in the day, you get tired and sleepy, and it can also play with your gut a little bit. So, okay, vitamin K2, specifically MK7 is the one, but that's the one they usually sell everywhere now anyway. Improves brain function, reduces the calcium plaques in your arteries, and it works really well with vitamin D3. They work really well together. And then the last one is omega-3 fish oil. Again, I was taking a very high dose of this. I've reduced this down to 5 grams now. This improves heart and brain function. It reduces triglycerides, increases insulin sensitivity, increases protein synthesis. It lowers cortisol, which as a result, obviously that's the stress hormone, reduces stress, which as a result, by reducing cortisol, this increases testosterone. And then the last thing is it improves your joint, skin, and hair health. I noticed this from jiu-jitsu. If I take a decent amount of fish oil for months and months on end, when I do jiu-jitsu, I would be less stiff and I would have less pain from training. Again, anecdotal, my experience, but it's proven as well. You can go Google it. Okay, here are the optional extras, and here's where it gets a little bit crazy. So, quercetin, well, it isn't crazy. It's kind of quite common, this one, but it's an antioxidant. Again, reduces inflammation, kills cancer cells, unbelievably, and it controls blood sugar. And ultimately, the main reason I started taking it is because it stops you getting sick as regularly. I can say this for sure. I started taking it and I got sick way less regularly. So, what else? Okay, I'll kind of go down and then come back up. So, I can't even pronounce this one. Epicatechin. This one I've been taking for a couple of weeks now. It stimulates something called follistatin, which blocks myostatin, which, long story short, is when this thing it basically stops you from, if you have myostatin in your body, it stops you from getting too big. So it's the thing that kind of tells your body, okay, stop growing muscle, we're getting a bit too big. Now, if you stimulate follistatin, it stops this from going up, which as a result means muscle growth doesn't stop. So you just get absolutely huge. And it reduces oxidative stress and inflammation and improves your hormones without any side effects. So it doesn't, improves hormones. It doesn't affect your hormones. So a lot of these supplements, they're not safe to take. They have side effects. This has no side effects and has no health issues. So it's one of the, if you Google, it's quite funny, if you go into Google Images and you type in myostatin inhibitor, and you see this picture of rats that are like skinny, and then another one is absolutely huge. Anyway, there's experimental drugs for doing this. I don't take any of those. This is just literally a supplement. So it doesn't affect hormones or anything. So literally just increases follistatin, which blocks myostatin, which tells my body just keep getting bigger, just keep getting bigger. Potassium citrate. Why do I take potassium? We need 3.5 milligrams per day. 3.5 grams per day. We usually don't get enough. Most people usually are not getting enough potassium, and this affects all your organs and how they function. Potassium is salts are incredibly important in your body. They're everything. If you feel like shit, your salts are messed up. When you're sick, drink that mix I talked about earlier, and all of a sudden you feel a lot better. And you realize when you go to the hospital, this is what they give you: potassium, sodium, magnesium. Like, they give you the same thing every time. So really important to get enough of that. Also, if you're training and you're following this diet, you're going to sweat out a lot of salts, and potassium is the most important one for you to get in. So obviously we're going to salt our food quite heavy. I talked about the diet earlier. We're going to use a lot of salt. Salt is not bad for you, but we need a decent amount of potassium. So yeah, I take 1 gram of this at the moment. I'll take more if I think I need it. At the moment, I get no cramping, I get no pain, body is running well, so I feel good. Okay, the last 2, these are for anti-aging. These are cutting edge. So NMN and the SIRT6 activator, these are from a company called Do Not Age in the UK. They ship, I think they ship worldwide. I don't have any links or referral links, you'll have to Google them. So NMN increases sirtuins, I haven't even spelt it right, but basically this improves your DNA, and it slows and potentially reverses aging. Now, I've watched people on YouTube that have been taking this for 6 months, and they literally are getting younger. so it potentially is reversing aging, but based on the current research, it just slows aging and potentially can stop it for periods of time. The SIRT6 activator, again, is a sirtuin. This repairs DNA, and it protects your telomeres. Your telomeres are effectively the way to measure your biological age. And ultimately, over time, you can kind of think of them as a hair on your body that fray. This protects them. So this stops the aging process. Well, it doesn't necessarily stop the aging process, but it definitely slows it down, and it reduces inflammation as well. Okay, that's supplements. Right, sleep. We're almost there. Wow, this is a long video. I hope you appreciate it. This took me about 10 hours to write. Right, sleep. So you want to set yourself up for success. You want to block all the light in the room. You don't want the room to be too hot. You don't want the room to be too cold. This whole thing about putting a chili pad in your bed and all this stuff I've seen on YouTube, I don't think it's necessary. I think it's over the top. Ultimately, black out the room. And then a few steps in here you need. Don't use your phone before bed. Don't look at a blue screen. It has a huge effect on your sleep. Take the magnesium before bed. Has a massive benefit on your sleep. For me, it makes me sleep so much better. Try to sleep a minimum of 7 hours. Ideally, you want to push for 8 to 9. Me, I'm trying to hit 8.5, roughly 8 hours minimum now, and I feel really good for it. You want to be in bed at 9 o'clock so you can get up at 5:30. Get up early, you can get work done. You can go to the gym. You can get stuff done before everyone's up. You can be way more productive. You can use those golden hours, as I talked about in the previous video. It's obvious, but if you get the right amount of sleep consistently, then your energy is going to be good. You're going to have good mental focus, and you're going to have high testosterone, which is really important for us as men. How do you track it? There's a bunch of sleep tracking apps where you can just plug your charger in, place the phone in the bed, and it will literally sense the movement and the sound, and will detect, probably using some machine learning models, if you're sleeping or not. I've used them. They're all really good. I currently use the Apple Watch. It does the same thing. I think it just tracks movement and sound. There is also the Whoop strap. I've used that. That was really good. And there's the Oura Ring as well, which I know is really popular. I haven't used that, but apparently it's really good. So I use the Apple Watch. It's really simple. I have everything managed in there. Okay, exercise. We want the minimum effective dose. We do not want to be wasting our time in the gym like most people are, where they're training for an hour and a half. Even some people doing these bro splits and these high volume training sessions, they're doing 2 hours and they're doing it 4 times per week. I mean, what you're doing with your life. We want the shortest period of time, and ultimately we're doing the weight training for aesthetics. Let's be honest. We're doing it to look good. Now, obviously, we want to have decent muscle mass because that's good for longevity. We know that, but we're doing it to look good. Let's be honest, right? So why do a bunch of exercises that don't make you look good? Target the things that make you look good. So you want to get an unfair advantage, and the best way to do that is to create the perfect ratios. And what are the perfect ratios? Well, I can't tell you by a number, but effectively you want really wide shoulders in proportion to your waist, and you want thick legs, but you don't want legs that are too thick. And then you want cut abs, but you don't want abs that are bulbous. You want abs that have the V shape at the bottom. So all of these things we will target in this workout program, and it's really simple and really easy to do. And you'll notice over time that you'll just keep getting better each week, which motivates you to keep training, which you can't do with most workout programs. Right, so here is the most simple weightlifting program ever. It will create the perfect physique, and it's focused on one thing: reverse pyramid training. Reverse pyramid training is where you do 3 sets of a weight, and the first set is the absolute heaviest weight. And when I say absolute heaviest, I mean the last rep or the last 2 reps, you are giving everything in your fiber of your being to make it happen. You're going to failure. And you do 5 to 6 reps on that. Then you do 7 to 8 reps, and those 7 to 8 reps you reduce the weight 10 to 20%, and then you do another 8 to 10 reps and you reduce it another 10 to 20%. Ultimately, what you should focus on is the 5 to 6 rep set. That should be going up every week, and then obviously the other weights, they're linked to that weight. And that's all you should be tracking, and that's what you should be increasing over time. Now, the specific types of lifts we're doing are targeted for aesthetics. Now, we're going to do leg raises, and we're not going to do any crunches, we're not going to do any ab classes, we're just going to do leg raises. And you can do these with weights, without weights, it depends on your level. But we're going to do these every other session. We're not going to do these every session, but we're not going to do them once a week. You want to do 3 times of the same amount of reps. So let's say you start with 10, and you just do 3 sets of 10. Now you can do these at the end of your session, or you can blend them in to your lifts. It's up to you. But ultimately, once the bottom of your abs start to grow and you see the V coming out, you probably need to reduce the volume, because you may create a strange shape where the bottom of your waist is quite wide, and that's disproportionate to your shoulders. So you may just need to do just a little bit of abs just to keep them toned, but you don't want to keep increasing the muscle there. Okay, first workout. Incline bench press, barbell or dumbbell, doesn't matter. Again, heavy as hell, 5 to 6 reps, then a little bit less, 7 to 8 reps, a little bit less, 8 to 10 reps. Done. That's it. Then you're going to do weighted dips. Weighted dips is where you have like a belt around your waist and you hang some weights between your legs. They usually have these at a gym, or you can buy a weight belt with a chain on it, and you can buy those on Amazon. Just take it to the gym with you. Again, heavy as hell dips. If you've never done dips before, again, you can Google all these things. But this program, this is what I do, and it really, really works. And it's the least amount of work for the maximum amount of benefit. Okay, workout B. We're going to do our legs. Everyone hates legs. We're not going to do squats. We're not going to do deadlifts. You can add those in if you want. Bulgarian split squats and calf raises. If you apply this style of training to these, you'll see a massive change. I'm doing these right now, and my legs are getting bigger each week, which is really hard for me to grow my legs. Okay, and then the last one is workout C, which is shoulder press and weighted chin-ups. Shoulder press is really, really important. It's probably your most important workout in all of this, because you want your shoulders to get as big as possible. They make the biggest difference to how you look aesthetically. Your traps will actually grow as a result of this. You don't need to target your traps as many people say you do. You don't. If you just do shoulder press, you will target them through this, because you'll be doing progressive overload, meaning you're increasing the weight every week. Again, you can do this with a barbell or a dumbbell. It's probably better with a barbell. as the weight gets higher, it becomes more difficult to balance a really heavy dumbbell. So you may need to stick with barbells as you get heavier. Maybe at the beginning, you can play with this yourself. You can either do standing or seated. But shoulder press, really, really important. And you really want to be pushing that weight every week. Shoulders for me have grown a lot, but this weight is so hard for me to get up. It's such a hard thing to progress on, and it is for most people. But this makes the biggest difference to your aesthetics. And then and then the last part is weighted chin-ups. These make an enormous difference to your body. Your back will grow a crazy amount. Now, you want a wide grip. When your back gets too big and too thick, you'd be surprised how much will change from this one. This one is quite quick, the response. You'll want to bring the grip in so you can target the middle of the back. Otherwise, you'll just end up with a back that's just disproportionate to your body. It's quite amazing. You don't need to do lat pull downs and all these things to target the back and bent over rows and all these things that people tell you. Just do weighted chin-ups. Now, the great thing about the weighted chin-ups, targets the bicep. So, that's it. That's the program. You don't need anything else. Now, a bunch of other people will tell you do, but that's because they want to sell you some complicated system where they can charge you more money. This is free. I'm giving you what I do. And I've trained in every system. This is the one that has made the biggest difference and made me look my best. With the least amount of work as well, which is crazy. Okay, cardio. We're nearly at the end. We're nearly there. Almost an hour. So cardio, why does this matter? We want to live longer. Now, if you don't care about living longer and you just want to get huge, then do the things I've said and just ignore this part, okay? But if you care about living until you're 120 or 130 and really pushing your age and also increasing your health span, not just your lifespan, then you want to hear about this. If you do this protocol, it's proven it's a 5x reduction in all-cause mortality. That's a 5x reduction. That means if you were, God knows, let's just say you were at a 90% risk of something bad, heart disease, whatever, you're going to reduce that down to less than 10%. This is insane. There is no drug on the market that can do this. Now, I've put a link to the YouTube link where Dr. Peter Attia talks about this, but it's insane. So this is something I've recently added, and I hate cardio, but I'm going to do it because I know the benefits it's going to bring to my health. And the beautiful thing is it's zone 2 cardio, which is not hard. That's I can talk cardio, okay? Not some hit over the top stuff. Okay, also high strength has a 3x reduction in all-cause mortality. So doing these things together, you're really, really helping yourself dramatically. So here is the protocol. It's really simple. 3 60-minute sessions or 4 45-minute sessions if you want to break it up of zone 2 cardio. You can just type into Google zone 2 calculator and you can put in all your details and calculate what your rate is. Roughly speaking, that's the kind of base for the zone 2. Now, to increase your VO2 max, you want to do one session of 4 minutes at your highest possible output that you can sustain for 4 minutes and repeat 5 times. Not 4 minutes and then on your next session it's half the speed. So you maybe need to go a little bit less than you think, but push it. Then wait 4 minutes and then repeat that process 5 times. So it's 40 minutes of time. It's roughly 20 minutes of work in total and 20 minutes of breaks. This increases your VO2 max. I'm incorporating this literally this week. I have done it the previous week, but I'm incorporating it fully this week. So it's going to be interesting how I manage this with everything else. Okay, and then sauna and cold therapy. Sauna reduces all-cause mortality by 40%. That's huge. The protocol for sauna is 4 20-minute sessions per week ideally after weight training. This actually increases protein synthesis. There is many benefits to sauna. Heat shock proteins. You can go Google about that, but for your longevity, a huge benefit. Obviously for reducing inflammation and improving recovery. I feel great doing saunas regularly. I feel really, really great. The other thing is cold showers. You can do that. There's no limitation to you doing cold showers. That can be your form of cold therapy. Cold therapy, as you probably already know, reduces inflammation, increases the feel-good right? The noradrenaline, serotonin, dopamine. You'll know, if you've never done it before, the first time you do it, you'll burst out laughing after. And ideally, you want to go for more than 5 minutes. Ideally. Now, you've got to be careful when you do this, because if you do this straight after weight training, you actually can block and slow muscle growth. So you have to be careful how regularly you do this. Now, I've just incorporated cold plunge. I've just bought a cold plunge that I'm going to use at home. Now, I'm going to be doing 3 sessions per week. I'm going to record this and put it on YouTube, and this is just going to be terrible, but I've done it before, and once you get into it and you do it regularly, it's actually not that hard, and you feel so good after. It's not, you can't compare it to a cold shower. It's a whole nother level. And because it's going into winter here in the UK, I'm going to have it outside. So I'm going to go out there in the morning. It's going to be cold. I'm going to start with 1 minute. And again, like progressive overload for weights, I'm going to try and push it to 10 minutes. But we'll see. We'll see how far I get. And I'm going to record it all. I think that's it. Yeah. So that's everything. So let's go back to the beginning. Just do a quick recap. So we're going to be fasting every day. We're going to be following this paleo diet, which is 95. We're going to be doing intermittent fasting, 95% paleo, and then 5% of the time having what we want. Not going crazy. We know this is going to remove a lot of addictions we have. We're going to stick to the supplements. Most importantly, vitamin D, zinc, magnesium, and fish oil. Again, let's go back to the video. Go back to that point in the video to see the dosages. Sleep. We're going to try and sleep minimum 8 hours per night. Worst case 7 hours, but we want to push to 8 or 9 hours. Exercise. We've got this perfect weight training program that's simple, doesn't take much time in the week at all, and is perfect for aesthetics. You'll look better than most people, and you'll do much less work. And you'll be increasing the weight every week, which makes you feel motivated to go back to the gym. It's got all the benefits. It works really well. And then the cardio we're going to do for longevity. Again, if you don't care about that, then just get huge. And then the last thing is sauna and cold plunge for longevity and feel good, and for inflammation and for recovery. That's everything I know, compressed into one video. I hope it was useful. Thank you for watching to the end, and I will see you tomorrow.